Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Welcome back this fine Friday, Open Line Friday, 877-973-7425. Text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. This just in. Marco Rubio is expected to travel to Israel from March 2nd to 3rd, says the U.S. State Department. We will see how things go. I'll keep an eye on this story. I want to talk about something else because I found it very interesting that we have this weird story that has come out of the Washington Post. It essentially alleges that the Republicans want to declare an emergency, and in declaring the emergency, take over the elections. This is from Isaac Arnsdorf at the Washington Post, pro-Trump activists who say they are in coordination with the White House, are circulating a 17-page draft executive order that claims China interfered in the 2020 election as a basis to declare a national emergency that would unlock extraordinary presidential power over voting. President Donald Trump has repeatedly previewed a plan to mandate voter ID and ban mail ballots in November's midterm elections, and the activists expect their draft will figure into Trump's promised executive order on the issue. The White House declined to elaborate. Under the Constitution, it's the legislatures and states that really control how a state controls its elections, and the president doesn't have any power, says Peter Ticken, a Florida lawyer who is advocating for the draft order. Ticken attended the New York Military Academy with Trump and was part of his legal team that filed an unsuccessful 2022 lawsuit. But here we have a situation where the president is aware that there are foreign interests that are interfering in the election. Now, here's the thing. Who exactly is Peter Ticken? Peter Ticken is an older lawyer. He has been on Steve Bannon's show. He is he's a lawyer in Florida. The president has apparently come into some sort of contact with the guy. But does the president really know the guy? So Shermichael Singleton was on CNN with Isaac Arnsdorf, who is the reporter of the Washington Post, who is pushing essentially the BlueAnon, the left-wing progressive conspiracy theory that Donald Trump wants to take over the elections. And by the way, just so you understand this legally, the president can't. Why? Because Article 1 of the Constitution says that the states control election procedure unless Congress passes superseding laws. Executive orders don't apply. This is the conversation on CNN.
What kind of powers would this unlock theoretically if he does this declaration?
Well, I mean, this isn't like spelled out in a statute or anything, but according to an early version of the draft that I saw, it would just order that everyone's got to re-register.
Re-register.
Everyone's got to re-register. You got to start over with voter registration.
200 million people or whatever.
You've got to show proof of citizenship, and You can only vote with hand-marked paper ballots, and you can only use an absentee ballot in very limited circumstances.
Sure, Michael, your response?
I mean, look, there are a lot of people who are going to make claims of having good, strong, robust relationships with the White House and with the president himself. We've seen these types of reportings in the past. And good job by Isaac, by the way. When I first read this story, I couldn't quite believe it. So I reached out to people to just ask, like, hey, is this legitimate? And one response I got was, well, if you find the person who this guy is allegedly talking to, let us know, too. The White House is principally focused on maintaining the House this November. They're principally focused on the economy, bringing jobs back to the American people, not these kooky-monky, crazy stories by some random attorney who is trying to assert something. And it should be known, again, this is not officially from the White House.
Right. Exactly. And yet CNN is one of the media outlets that's elevating this, the Washington Post elevating this. This guy apparently was at an event that Donald Trump was at. They did not travel on Air Force One together to the event. They just happened to be at the same event. And so now the Washington Post comes along and says, hey, this guy is advocating for this. The president has said he wants to do something about voter ID. The Republicans have the SAVE Act in Congress. Oh, therefore, it must be a conspiracy to take over the election. You know what this actually is Democratic fear porn to excite the Democratic base and get the Democratic base to maintain their passions for November. I was actually at this meeting of the vast right-wing conspiracy that I'm at, was talking to a very prominent, noted right-wing person who said, you know what 2026 is shaping up to look like is the 2010 election with the Tea Party. Because you got a lot of people on our side now saying that these are all paid operations, the paid protesters, paid protests. In 2010, that's what they said. It was the Koch brother funded operation, the Tea Party. It was all the Koch brothers. It wasn't real. It wasn't organic. It wasn't really a coalition of conservatives together concerned. And that's what they say now about the No Kings protests and the like. And in fact, more and more people I know on the right are admitting that actually, okay, some money went behind to help build the websites and stuff, but it's mostly an organic effort of passionate progressives turning out for this stuff, much like the Tea Party movement. Now, the big difference is gerrymandering this time may save the Republicans better than last time, but there is an organized effort, and the things that is happening is that there are people who are trying to inspire and incentivize the regular and repeated turn up of voters to keep them engaged, keep them coming back for more rallies, keep them registering to vote, get them passionate about going door to door. That's what the Tea Party did in 2010. It's what the progressive No Kings protesters are doing this time. And you can wave it all away and say, well, it's paid protests, but that's exactly what the left did in 2010. And for those of you who were in the Tea Party in 2010, how did you react when they kept saying these are paid protesters, they're not volunteers, it's not organic? You were pretty aggravated about it because you weren't paid, you were organic, you did show up because you cared, and that's what's happening now. And people on the right are convinced it's not really as big as it is. What the paid portion of it is doing is the same as in 2010. It's giving means to the organization to regularly rally, to protest, to turn up. But one of the things that's happening now that the media can do, because the media is in the tank for the left, is they concede stories in the mainstream media publications that remain very influential, particularly with the left, to get them inspired to show up. Y'all have to show up now. If it's not close, they can't cheat. And they're going to cheat. They're going to do their best. They're going to try to steal it. I mean, I played the clip for you, yesterday of Kamala Harris. Just listen to this again. This is Kamala Harris on a left-wing podcast.
So we need to be clear-eyed and alert to what might be at play around these midterms, because obviously he is one of the most unpopular presidents ever in the history of the United States. His agenda is one of the most unpopular in the way it has played out. And then, Aaron, I'll also say, let's be prepared, because if, as many predict, we win the midterms, if we don't win by substantial numbers, I can see a situation where they find some reason to refuse to seat Democrats who win. And, we saw that happen around Grijalda and that situation, and they delayed it for weeks, I could see the same thing happening. And look, the election and the midterms is one of the, if not the only way that in the immediate future we can put some checks on the abuse of power coming from Donald Trump and this administration.
You got that? So if it's close, they can cheat. It can't be close. Fire up, get yourself out there. And this is how they're incentivizing people. CNN is willing to amplify a story from the Washington Post that, by the way, is not really well sourced. And the left is willing to spread it as a nightmare scenario that Donald Trump is going to try a federal takeover of the elections by executive order. There is no basis for the president of the United States to do this, by the way. The Constitution is actually very clear, as is the precedent in the United States, for how elections work in the United States. And good luck. This is Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1. The times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. But the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations, except as to the places of choosing senators. There's no place for the president or executive order in there. There is some federal law that gives the president the right to have poll watchers from the Department of Justice and things like that, but the president can't demand photo ID because there's no federal law that requires it, and yet they don't care about the actual statute. It's the fear and nightmare scenarios that they are willfully trying to seed to the left to inspire the left to show up. It's why they continue on with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff as well. When it's very clear Donald Trump was not tied to Jeffrey Epstein, they continue to manufacture these stories of crazy people with allegations, much like they did to Brett Kavanaugh and others, claiming, of course, that this is some sort of dark conspiracy, some abusive relationship. It's just really, really, really ridiculous to me that the media would do this, but this is what the media does because this is an operation to inspire and generate turnout by the left in November. It's to sustain the energy, to get you through the anger into I've got to take action, boots on the ground, and Republicans have to be on their A game. And one of the ways I think Republicans need to respond to this is pointing out that the Democrats have no plan, and to the extent they have a plan, it's insane. The boys and girls sports stuff, the crime wave, the incompetence of running blue cities. The Republicans need to not just say, hey, here's our agenda and it's one you like, but if the Democrats get in charge, here's their agenda. Because what the Democrats intend to do for the next several months is to not run on issues. They want to make it about the Republicans. They don't want to run on issues. They don't want to run with the focus on themselves. They want to run with the entire focus on Donald Trump. The media is there to help elevate them. So Republicans, I think, need to consider that they've got to not just highlight their agenda. They've got to highlight what the Democrats want and who the Democrats actually are. And you can use the crime stories around the country, the lackadaisical prosecutions, the Democrats doubling down on the defense of illegal aliens over American citizens. You got to be able to highlight and expose all of those things to show what the contrast will be with the Democrats, because what the Democrats are doing right now is just trying to scare people to motivate them to show up. Do you guys remember the DeepSeek story? This is one of those I told you so, Charlie. I should have put that in the file at the time. So if you will recall, China made major waves that its AI DeepSeek had surpassed American chip manufacturers. It had done better on cheaper chips. It didn't use NVIDIA. It had done all sorts of stuff. Well, Reuters is confirming that DeepSeek's models were actually used on smuggled chips in an Inner Mongolia data center, and it actually was not as good as it claimed to be. They smuggled NVIDIA chips. They used the NVIDIA chips. They denied they used the NVIDIA chips. And they used those chips to train also its upcoming model and then intended to destroy the evidence. That is, the Chinese lied yet again on their data capabilities with their chips. Now, here's the other story. A pollster pointed out this morning that Chinese entities in the United States have been spending lots of money to perpetuate fears about AI in the United States. And oddly enough, the parts of the country that have turned most rapidly, most hostile to AI are the parts of the country in which China has deployed assets to try to scare people with a propaganda campaign. I'm becoming a broken record on this point, but I gotta keep saying it, that there are real concerns about AI, but many of the concerns that you guys have about AI are actually propagandistic concerns funded by the Chinese. And now we've actually got real data that Chinese think tanks, Chinese funded think tanks in the United States have begun propaganda news campaigns around the country in key parts, particularly in New England and the West Coast, where liberals live, to scare liberals away from building plants. They're struggling actually in southern and midwestern states, largely because of land use regulations that make it easier to put in AI data facilities. So China lied. They stole NVIDIA chips to build their DeepSeek AI. It wasn't homegrown chips. And China lied when it came to the development of the development of their technology, and now they're trying to lie to you to scare you about the technology. The Chinese clearly have not caught up to us. And so their mission now is very subversive within the United States to see some level of fear and loathing among the American population about AI so that they can have a competitive advantage against us. And I would be very, very weary of the Chinese on these points and of people who are really trying to scare you to death about the rise of AI and data centers. By the way, I neglected to mention this hour of the program is brought to you by Van Allen Golf, vanallengolf.com. You can text golf to 33777 to find out more. By the way, they're doing a giveaway for February. If you go to vanallengolf.com, you can scroll down. You'll see the February giveaway. They're giving away something fantastic from True Precision, pew pew, and also a Van Allen Golf putter. So go to vanallengolf.com. It's ALLEN, vanallengolf.com, or text the word golf to 33777. I'll get you all you need to know. Van Allen Golf, made in the United States, not made in China, not made by the Chinese like so many things are these days. And the Chinese continue to rip off American ideas. They're just not very innovative in and of themselves. Now, speaking of technology, Vision Computers can be your technology assist. They can build you a computer, upgrade your computer, and they can also be your managed IT service. You go to visioncomputers.com or call them at 404-COMPUTE. Tell them Eric sent you, 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Let Vision Computers build you computers or just be your managed IT service. The managed IT service is so great. You call them 24/7, 365. They answer the phone within 15 seconds or less, and they help you with your computer. They can remote in if they need to be able to take care of your computer. They handle email support, printer support. They can get you back up and running so you have peace of mind. They can offset your in-house managed IT service to save you some money. They can do it for your home as well, for your home computer. They can build you a laptop. They can build you a desktop, whatever you need. Call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Tell them Eric sent you. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. Okay, I gotta listen. Some of you will get mad at me, but Democrats, I don't want to give you any free advice, Democrats, but you'd be foolish not to amplify stuff like this. This is the exchange in the United States House of Representatives between a Democratic Congresswoman Dean and the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick.
What's the tariff on bananas? Americans, by the way, love bananas. We buy billions of them a year. I love bananas. What's the tariff on bananas?
The tariff on bananas would be representative of the countries that produce them.
And what's that tariff?
Generally 10%.
Correct, 10%. Walmart has already increased the cost of bananas by 8%.
But as countries do deals with us, that will go to zero. As countries do deals with us, that will go to zero. But the cost is on the American consumer now and on the businesses with the confusion now. Mr. Secretary, I believe you know better.
I believe you recognize that a trade deficit is not something to fear. I believe you know that predictability, stability is essential for businesses. I wish you would show that truth to this administration. And I yield back.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
Would you mind, Mr. Chairman, if I make one quick comment to the end? Would that be okay?
I'm sorry?
Would you mind if I make one quick comment to the representative?
Sure. Please.
There's no uncertainty if you build in America and you produce your product in America, there will be no tariff.
We can't produce bananas in America.
Building in America and paying no tariff is very, very clear.
We cannot build bananas in America.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
Y'all, you can't grow bananas in the United States of America outside of certain parts, and we don't have enough land in those parts with the other crops to offset them to build bananas or grow bananas in the United States. So the only way to get enough bananas to feed Americans in this country is to grow them in other countries with climates more appropriate for the banana growing. And in those countries, they are tariffed at minimum 10%. And so your grocery prices are higher. Walmart has increased the price of bananas by 8%. Your grocery prices are higher. This isn't made up. This isn't me making this up to attack the president. This is the logical outcome of the tariff policy. And for Howard Lutnick to go to Congress, who, by the way, is repeatedly in the Epstein files, and unlike Donald Trump, went to Epstein Island, to go to Congress and to tell Congress, if you make bananas in the United States, they're not going to be tariffed. Well, guess what? You can't make bananas in the United States. Coffee, Hawaii, yes. Some in Puerto Rico, yes. But significant coffee production comes from other countries. Why? We don't have enough land in the United States to produce all the coffee we need to produce. In fact, a lot of tropical fruits Americans love, whether it's bananas or pineapples, or whether it's coffee beans or even chocolate, they come from other places. You can't grow chocolate in the United States. Cacao, you can't grow cacao trees in the United States. All of it is subject to tariffs, and there are no exceptions for those tariffs. And for Howard Lutnick to say, well, just grow them in the United States, where? Where, Howard, are we going to make enough coffee beans in the United States? Where, Howard, are we going to grow cacao trees in the United States? Where, Howard, are we going to grow bananas in the United States? We can grow some in Hawaii, pineapple, some in Hawaii, not enough to satiate the demand. So what are we going to tear down? Neighborhoods in South Florida? Do you want your house, those of you listening down at FTL, WDBO, WOKV down in Jacksonville, where do you want to level your neighborhood to turn it into a farm to grow bananas? And by the way, you'd have to be south of Orlando for the most part. So those of you in Jacksonville are safe. We're south of Orlando. Here in Naples, where I'm broadcasting from, looking out at the beach, I guess we can level some of these condominium towers and turn them into plantations for bananas. We'd have mostly the weather till the hurricanes came through. And, you know, the funny little irony in all of this is that the Democrats actually largely support the tariff. They don't want to be very public about it right now. But a lot of Democrats actually believe in tariffs. It would just be ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, for us to continue to have a lot of the tariffs on grocery produce. And the president, by the way, had gotten rid of some of them until the Supreme Court struck down that tariff regime. And under this tariff regime, it's a blanket regime. And so the tariffs have gone back up. So your food prices go back up because of this stuff. It's just such an infuriating policy. Core wholesale prices in January rose 0.8%, much more than expected. Wholesale prices rose at a faster than expected January pace, countering hopes inflation was easing. The core producer price index, which excludes volatile food and energy prices, increased seasonally adjusted 0.8%, more than the 0.6% in December. On an all items basis, headline PPI rose 0.5%, also above the forecast of 0.3%. For the full year, core wholesale prices accelerated 3.6%, while the headline index posted 2.9%. Both figures are ahead of the 2% inflation. Stock market futures were losing as a result of this. Where is the stock market right now? The Dow has tumbled over 600 points. Why? Because of stagflation fears. And where is it coming? Tariffs. In July and August of last year, some of you started emailing me angrily because you weren't seeing the effects I told you would see from the tariffs. And you said, Erickson, you lied. And my response to you at the time was, one, the economy was actually being remarkably more resilient. But two, you also had to remember that the president had kept kicking the cans on tariff, adjusting tariffs, taking tariffs off, adding tariffs. The whole situation was very complex, but the prices would come due. It appeared at the time that companies were actually cutting profits more than raising prices. But eventually the companies would have to stop cutting costs and cutting profits. They would have to raise prices. The bill is coming due now. And I want you to understand, whether you want to believe it or not, that this is the policy outcome of tariffs. You don't have to believe me on that. Look at this report today. Service prices drove the increase with a 0.8% monthly rise, the highest since 2025. Goods actually fell 3%. However, core goods prices claimed that rose 0.7%. More than 20% of the increase in services came from margins for professional and commercial equipment wholesaling. Why? Because commercial equipment wholesaling, much of it is manufactured with parts from abroad, which were tariffed. On the goods sides, energy and food prices went down, but metals prices rose 4.8%. Why did metals prices rise? Because domestic manufacturers rose prices in response to foreign tariffs, because the foreign tariffs went up so much on metals prices that the domestic prices could go up as well and still stay under the tariffs. And while grocery prices went down, import grocery goods like bananas and coffee went up. The chickens are coming home to roost on a very foolish policy. And I wish the president would change his mind on the tariffs, because there will be hell to pay by the voters, because they voted for the Republicans to bring prices down. And guess what? Core wholesale prices rose 0.8% in January, much more than anyone was expecting. Inflation is starting to go back up, and a lot of it is coming from the wobbling in the tariffs. The upside of that is it's a one-time jump because the tariffs remain stable. The price goes up because of the tariffs, and then it doesn't keep going up. But we got other problems in the economy as well, and the tariffs are just exacerbating things. By the way, while all this is happening, Bill Clinton has been testifying. Hillary Clinton testified, said she saw nothing, did nothing. Bill Clinton's, his quote now is, quote, "I saw nothing and I did nothing wrong." If you're going to attack Bill Clinton, you also need to talk about Howard Lutnick, who wants you to believe that you can grow bananas in the United States of sufficient rates for people in the United States. Howard Lutnick actually took his family to Epstein Island, vacation, claimed he had no relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, but wound up vacationing on his island. He lied to you. He lied to me. He lied to everyone about his relationship with Epstein. If you're going to attack the Clintons for their dealings with Epstein, Howard Lutnick had as many business dealings and personal dealings with Epstein as the Clintons did. So if you're upset at the one, why aren't you upset at the other? You got to be morally consistent here, people. If you're outraged over the Clintons, yes, you can say, well, they invited Ghislaine Maxwell to Chelsea Clinton's wedding. Yes, Howard Lutnick vacationed on Epstein Island. Are we going to have moral consistency here, or is it just tribalism? Do we not care? I blasted the Heritage Foundation yesterday for continuing to send people to Steve Bannon's show. Why are you giving Steve Bannon attention? He gave Jeffrey Epstein enough attention to try to rehabilitate him. If you're not willing to make a guy like Steve Bannon a pariah for his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein after everything came out about Jeffrey Epstein, his willingness to try to help Jeffrey Epstein rehabilitate himself, you really didn't care about the victims, did you? You really didn't care about the victims. People are morally bankrupt at this point, I think. And it's unfortunate. Back to tariffs, by the way, the president says that someday they could substantially replace the income tax. We actually know how much we do in global trade. And if you do the 10-15% tariff, how much money that's going to bring in, we're never actually going to be able to replace the income tax with tariffs. It's just It's frustrating to me to see this sort of stuff out there. Deeply, deeply frustrating to me. With so much other stuff going on, the president is kickstarting an American economic revolution, and tariffs are holding us back. And to have the Commerce Secretary, who was involved with Jeffrey Epstein, which is just a distraction, go to Congress and say, hey, we should grow bananas in the United States and then we won't have tariffs on them. You can't, Howard. You know, you could actually grow bananas on Epstein's Island, Howard. Epstein's Island has a tropical climate enough that you could grow bananas, but other things were growing on Epstein's Island, and you went to that island, Howard. I don't think you did anything wrong. You took your family, but seriously, knowing what you knew about Jeffrey Epstein, you had your family there. That's just poor judgment, Howard. Just ridiculous. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be frustrated with all of this stuff. I just want the Republicans to win in November, or at least mitigate the damage that could come from the Democrats. And you can't when you got Howard Lutnick, who visited Jeffrey Epstein's Island, showing up to Congress telling the Democrats, well, banana prices are up 8% at Walmart, but if you grew them in the United States, we wouldn't have a tariff on the banana. And does he not know you can't do that? Okay, I'm going to shut up now before my blood pressure goes up too much and y'all get mad at me. Have you guys heard about the story? It's from NBC News. A martini in a student's lunchbox prompts Georgia police to warn parents that's not apple juice. Police near Atlanta kindly asked parents Wednesday to double-check lunches they pack for their children after one child came to school with a martini to wash down a midday snack. The South Fulton Police Department released a picture of what, at first glance, looked like a normal school lunch, but on closer examination, the aluminum can wasn't juice, soda, or other non-intoxicating beverages. It was a can of lemon martini made with vodka triple second lemon juice. Who among us? Is this not America, people? Let's see, there are Doritos in this lunchbox, some odd food item of looks like bread or something, I don't know, and a lemon drop martini. Did the kid pack their own lunch? This reminds me of some parent somewhere. This was on Facebook and went viral, and essentially said, shout out to the mom who put vodka in her water bottle and got my kid drunk on the volleyball team. And somebody replied and said, if your kid drank the vodka in the water bottle, your kid's clearly been going to parties that you don't know about if she didn't spit it out. Oh, who among us hasn't sent our kid off to school with a martini? Goodness gracious. Now, for those of you who don't understand, South Fulton, yeah, I can totally see this happening in South Fulton. My kid, on the other hand, takes 5 pieces of bacon and a stack of Pringles to school every day. I got a picky eater in my house. So I cook all this stuff. I put all this stuff online. And I have to cook for other friends because my family kind of like now my wife's family, they love my gumbo. My family doesn't much care for my gumbo. I love my gumbo. I have to give it off to friends and my wife's family. My kids do love my pizzas. I got an outdoor pizza oven. For years and years and years, since I was in high school, I have made myself homemade pizzas. And I've never been really great at like the dough and figuring out the dough and the homemade pizzas and stuff. And I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I got a little rock box from Gosney. And I could make them, but they were Neapolitan and they didn't like them so much. It's like, I want the crispy New York style crust. And I did those and they kind of liked them. And I did them in the oven and they liked them a little more. It's like, okay, now that I've got them, I want to do an outdoor pizza. Now my son begs me to make pizza. He loves my pizza from the pizza oven. It does a wood burning and gas pizza oven in the backyard. And the kids love it. My wife loves them. I can do calzones for my wife and my daughter. They love them. I make my son and me pizzas. I make the guys pizzas on Sunday nights. And literally this thing gets so hot, you can do a pizza in 90 seconds in this thing. Now, that's the Neapolitan. The New York pizzas, you cook them a little lower temperature, do about a 65% hydration on the dough, and you cook them for like 3 to 4 minutes, and they get crispy. It's just, oh my gosh, the pizzas are fantastic. I have done lasagna in my wood-burning oven outside. I've done steaks in it, and I genuinely like to use my pizza oven outside. The problem is when it's raining or about to rain, you really can't because you can't get water on the stones. They'll shatter. But I haven't sent my son to school with a martini or a glass of bourbon. I haven't done that. The only thing my son drinks is water. Not making that up. He'll occasionally have milk if he must. He doesn't like juices. He won't drink apple juice, grape juice, doesn't drink Sprite, doesn't drink Cokes, no soft drinks, no lemonade. My son drinks water. He's going to be thin for the rest of his life if he keeps this up, which is good for him. But he eats 5 pieces of bacon for school every day. We do let him go through Chick-fil-A on the way to school, and he gets the chicken nuggets for breakfast because we want him to have some level of protein other than bacon during the day. My kids are picky eaters. My wife, she can't handle spicy stuff anymore with her chemo, so I got to cook for other people. So all this is to say, I am actually working on my cookbook. It's a slower process, and I gotta do the photography at some point. It's just kind of in the back. It's there for me to do, and at some point I'm going to do it. You know, I started writing a column for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the local paper here in Atlanta, and I gotta maybe partner with them and see if we can get my cookbook finally off the ground. All right, we got a lot more we got to talk about when we come back. There's some bigger news out there, but first I got to tell you about my bank, Old Glory Bank. OldGloryBank.com/Eric is where you want to go. OldGloryBank.com/ERICK. If you sign up with Old Glory Bank, they're an online bank, but you can deposit cash. You can get a business checking account with them. You can get a savings account with them. I've got a no-fee checking and savings account with them. My savings account continues to grow interest. I just leave it there with some money in it. I can deposit cash into my account. You can do mortgages. You can do CDs. And they believe in your freedom to bank. They respect your privacy rights. They will not debank you. They were set up by conservatives for conservatives. They share your pro-America values. They would love to bank with you. And if you are active duty military, they will waive fees on their premium accounts. They're about to be listed on NASDAQ. I'm so excited for them. Go to oldglorybank.com/Eric today. Sign up with Old Glory Bank. Get started with them. Build a relationship with them. If your kids need a custodial account, they're a great bank to do that. As your kids are used to online stuff, they've got a great app, great bill pay tools and budgeting tools. Full service, responsive bank. oldglorybank.com/Eric. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, terms and conditions apply.